Yeah. We're seeing some pictures up here from some of your TV shows as well. You did a lot of television, actually, in the sort of 50s and 60s. Some of it was live TV.
Oh yes, the first thing I did they had used the first camera, you know, the ones that go up and down and things. That's so long ago.
Yeah, so I made a note of some of the shows you were in. We're seeing some here like The Human Jungle.
Yeah.
You were in The Avengers, the first series of The Avengers. Other shows like No Hiding Place.
Yes.
And there was one called Knight Errant Limited.
Yes.
I mean,
I did the first Avengers.
Yeah.
Which didn't have
with Ian Hendry.
Ian Hendry.
Yeah.
Yes, he played my uncle.
And
I played his niece.
Yes, well, same thing. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like working in television in those days? That's quite early time.
Well, hilarious. Everything was live. Everything. I did a series for children, and there were 3 shows going on at the same time in one studio, and we went from literally one to the other to the other. I mean, I don't know how they did it really, because you couldn't just go anywhere. It wasn't just stop that and go into another studio. It was 3 in 1, and it was amazing. But it wasn't frightening. It was. You had that continual...
Exhilarating.
Yes. Yes. I think that's a good word, Arcade. It was frightening and exhilarating and everything else. But it was eerie. A lot of things were very eerie and you couldn't stop. If you made a mistake, you could not stop. You know, it was... You'd have to have this... finely tuned. And the Avengers, that was the same. That bloody hell, that was frightening. If you made a mistake in that, you had to make the mistake and just get on with it. You know, but it was
too expensive for them to stop and start or edit things or anything.
Well, we didn't have the way of doing it then. You know, it wasn't film, and film at that time didn't go into television, so awkward. You know? And I mean, there were great big cameras and everything.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because so much of it was just going out live, there's no record of it anywhere. Your episode of The Avengers is one of the lost episodes of The Avengers. Unfortunately, they have got copies of some of that first series, but all we've got of yours are some photos, which is nice to see. But
really?
Well, the pictures are up on here from your Avengers episode.
Oh, you're joking! Oh, sorry. Sorry, that woman was the most wonderful woman I've ever known. That woman there.
Might be the next slide. There you go. So that's you in The Avengers.
Oh my God.
With Ian Hendry. So there are some images, but no video. It's all lost, unfortunately.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's inevitable, isn't it?
So we've seen this a couple of times now. Do you want to tell us about Benny Hill? Your very early days, Benny Hill.
Yes. Hilarious. Absolutely. He's a wonderful man. Very, very funny. You couldn't keep up with him. And I think I did something with Basil Brush that was on his show. I mean, you know, honest to God, I'm going to just go from Benny to Basil. He was so extraordinary, you believed he was there. He was divine, absolutely divine. And the old boy who worked him, Daddy, was absolutely... I loved Basil. I just loved him. But yes, I mean, Benny was amazing.
And what were you doing in his show?
I just went on and did dance numbers. Right. You know.
More than once, and there were a few shows.
I did 2 with Benny. I don't know. I was everywhere.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to say. At the time, you're doing all this, but you also had a very busy theatre career.
Yes.
And I made a note of some of the shows that you were in. You appeared. So you did actually Sunday night at the London Palladium, which was televised.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. But you also were in shows like
Humpty Dumpty at the Palladium.
Yeah. And Lock Up Your Daughters.
Yes.
That one in the West End.
Yes.
And you also took The Roar of the Grease Paint, The Smell of the Crowd from the West End to Broadway.
We didn't go to the West End.
Oh, that wasn't West End.
No.
But it was Broadway.
I went from here to Broadway to
Right.
do it because they couldn't find anyone to do it.
No, they wanted you to do it.
No, honest, they had this young girl doing it, and Brickers and Newburgh said, this is all wrong. So I had a phone call, and it was David Merrick. Ooh, scary man. Ooh, very scary man. Bloody hell. But he was wonderful at the same time. But you had to watch it, you know, keep the trap shut. And they phoned me and they said, would you come over? And I said, I'm not coming over there. I'm too busy here. You know, and they said, oh, go on, Sal, go on. And I said, I don't want to. And they offered me 14. So I thought, I'll just have to go.
And
Which
I'm sure it was a great success, right?
Yes, it was.
Wasn't Norman Wisdom in that as well?
No, Norman
Was
did
that
it
in
here.
here?
Newburgh did it
Right. Okay.
on Broadway.
And we've all seen Norman Wisdom in films, but what was it like being on stage with
The
him?
man was a genius.
No.
I can say no more. He was very naughty, very naughty, but a genius at the same time. I mean, he made passes at everybody on the set, and he tried it on with me. I said, "Oh, Daddy, don't be so silly." And he went, "Oops." And I said, And we were great friends. He was just brilliant. Absolutely. I've never seen anyone work so hard ever in my life. And just wonderful. Wonderful man.
You appeared on stage with quite a few well-known people, I think, over the years. I saw one that said you were in a show with David Essex.
He was in a show with me, do you know?
Yeah, well...
Yeah, he was wonderful. We did a review at the Mayfair Theatre, and he was in that. And I have to say, that was a corpse show, but absolutely, none of us ever stopped corpsing. It was horrendous. And I, in that show, had to do a song. Maybe I ought not to tell. I won't tell that story. But David was lovely, but he didn't know arse from elbow then because he was just in the pop world.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
But you were all the way through when you're doing all this stuff. You had theatre going on at the same time, so you're doing films.
I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, going to the set when I was on Human Jungle, and then going from there to do Lock Up Your Daughters at Night. And it's a big sing, Lock Up. It's not an easy sing either. Yeah.
I mean, you were young, but it still must have been exhausting to do that sort of day by day by day.
Yeah, it does run you down a bit, but I was very lucky.
Yeah, The Human Jungle was a really great role for you. You played the daughter of Herbert Long's character. Has anyone ever seen The Human Jungle? It's
running now.
So yeah, you find it on Talking Pictures TV. And so he's a psychiatrist, and every week is a different case to somebody new to work with. Joan Collins, I think, was one of them.
Oh, honest to God.
It was like everybody who was working popped into The Human Jungle.
Everybody. All the great stars were in it too, and it was wonderful. I mean, good Lord. You know, it was a really fantastic series, and every one of them was a true case history, but they had to diddle around with it a bit. So, but it was good, and Herbert was good.
Do you know why they only really did one series?
They did two.
Oh, was it two?
They did two. They did one black and white and one colour.
That's true.
And for some reason, I don't think they've ever shown the colour one. And I wish I got paid for it.
Well, for the repeat fees, yes.
Nothing.
But it could have run and run that show. I guess Herbert Long was also quite in demand in other places as well.
I don't know what happened, but something happened because it was very popular.
Yeah, but the Pink Panther was just taken off around that time as well, maybe.
Yeah.
But for you, you had plenty of other work anyway, so...
Well, yeah, I was all right, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, so was Herbert, bless him.
I'm skipping over your big film that we've watched this evening because I want to save those questions for everybody else. But I wanted to mention, I mean, we see a couple of other films here, like this one,
Hi, Hazel.
poster, and This one appears to be a film you can't find. I've been looking.
Which
But
one?
The Trouble with Eve. I've not been able to find a copy of that anywhere. But the next one that's coming up, or shortly,
It was hilarious, Trouble with Eve.
called She Always Gets There Man.
Yeah.
And you're like the main face on the poster. That was
Yeah.
a big starring role for you.
Yeah.
How was that?
In a
experience?
bikini top.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, good
It's
Lord.
all about you.
Yes, it was. And I had a wonderful fight. Ooh, I loved it. Ooh. Oh, I did a fight scene with Bernice Swanson. We went to school together, Ada Foster's. Oh, it was fun. And a wonderful, wonderful stunt guy, Ray Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know him?
I've met Ray Austin.
Oh, I loved Ray.
Yeah.
He came up to me in the studios doing another movie, I think it might have been that one. On the White Horse, he was playing a knight. And he came up on the White Horse and said, whatever, come down, let your hair down and come to me, I will take thee away. So I ran down the stairs and got up on the horse. And off we went. Him in his armour. Oh, it's a lovely man.
Ray Austin was stunt coordinator on the series like The Avengers.
Yes.
And a lot of those TV shows. He was a pretty busy guy as well.
He was lovely. And then he went to America, I believe, and did very, very well out there.
The last film that is up on here was your trip to Italy. I wonder if we could just talk about that a little bit. You went to Rome to shoot a horror film with a director called Antonio Margheriti.
Very
and the
famous
film,
man out there.
The film, when it comes up, the poster, it says Nude si muore, which means naked you die. Which is a classic, very classy title. Also known in America as The Young, the Evil and the Savage, I think. So there's a lot of different titles.
I believe, because you told me this, it was very, very popular out there. And I was told that it was all me. And I said, what are you talking about? I did a bit part in it.
Well, I mean, I've seen it and I think you're the star of the film. I might be biased, but I do think you're the star of the film. There's some pictures of it on here as well. But could you just tell us a little bit of what it was like to go to Rome? This is about 1967, 68. So it's real sort of swinging.
Oh,
Rome,
it was
Cinecittà,
fantastic. I caused
Dolce
an accident.
Vita, all of that stuff. Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was mini skirt time, wasn't it?
Very different hair from what we've just seen in Father Kane 2.
Oh my God, I haven't seen those before. Isn't that weird? It was wonderful. And Antonio was wonderful to me, and I was very, very lucky to work with him because he was huge. But no, it was great. And the wonderful, wonderful, his name's gone straight. Oh, dreadful with names.
Michael Rennie?
Yes. The most divine man in the world. Divine man.
But this was an international production, so you had some people speaking Italian, some people speaking English. The director didn't really speak English particularly
No, he was very, very Italian.
So how was that, just on a day-by-day basis, trying to shoot scenes where everyone's speaking different languages?
Didn't mind it at all. It was quite fun. No, it was lovely. They were all so lovely. And it's a whole different world out there. But my last day, if I may, can I tell the story about the last day? I think I've told you.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, in the morning, in the La Città, whatever it was, the studios. Cinecittà. They had to fill the pool, and the water came from the mountain down into the pool. And I had a fight scene with a man in the pool, in a dress. Right, they said, action, and I went, shroop. I thought I was going to freeze to death. I have never been so cold in my life, and there was nothing I could do apart from do the get out of here, and got out. In the afternoon, on my last day, they put me in a very thick swim thing. Oh
yeah, it's a full diving suit,
yes.
Isn't it? With tanks
yes.
and everything, yeah.
With a crutch down here. It's lovely. I looked glamorous, frightfully glamorous. I thought, I'm dying in this. I'm done. All the arcs were on and everything. When I got out of it, the bottom was up to here in water, my sweat. I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, that's the way to get the last day out of me.
They saved the bits till the end where they might need
Yes,
to kill you.
yes.
To make sure they've got everything else filmed.
Well, they surely did, They surely did.
But just with the language thing, did you know what the plot even really was? Like what was going on some of the time?
I had an English version of the script,
Okay.
which was just as well. So I was lucky, and I had an interpreter who was absolutely wonderful.
Now you mentioned, I believe you caused an accident on the Spanish Steps on one of your days off.
Well, it's miniskirt time, wasn't it? You know, what do? You wear a miniskirt if you're English. Well, you only came to here because I've got a long bum and you have to cover it a bit, you know. So it was there. It was, you know. And I was coming down the Spanish Steps and there was a car coming across these beautiful steps. Oh my God, they were gorgeous. And of course they could see right up my booter. And this man I went straight into a lamppost. And I didn't know what had happened. Oh, well done. I didn't know what had happened, but it was very funny. And the police were going, woo. I mean, I was going, woo. But it was too short. You know. But there you go. What can you do when you're little? You've got to show your lallies, haven't you?
Yeah. I wouldn't know.
That's them.
So let's talk a little bit then about our film Father Came Too.
Oh.
Perhaps we can just talk a bit about the sort of casting and how you came to be in the film, and then we'll open it out to everybody else. But how did that?
It was Peter Graham Scott, and I, honest to God, don't remember doing an audition. I just remember being in it. It is the most joyous thing working with comedians, and I've worked with so many and all the best. They were so lovely. Jimmy Justice was the sweetest man. He was ever so naughty, but I did love him to bits. And Stanley, oh, I think Stanley and I are the only ones still alive. It's awful.
Leslie Phillips is still going.
Yes, he certainly is.
Yeah,
He's just got married to another young girl. Where was I at the time?
Yeah. Well, so with that then, has anybody got any questions for Sally about the movie or any of the other wonderful things that she did?
Didn't you audition for Noel Coward?
Oh, yes. Oh, Fran. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you want me to tell?
Yes.
Well, you can't leave it at that.
Of course.
You have
Okay.
to tell us now.
Okay. So off I went.
How old were you?
20-something, I think. Yeah, I would be 20-something. Off I went. It was for The Princess and the Pea. I think everybody probably knows the story about the princess and having to sleep on 100 mattresses or whatever it is. But they put the pea at the bottom of the mattress. And if they can't see it, she's not the princess that's allowed to marry the prince. So off I trolled, looking like a 12-year-old, like I was told to look. I got little shoes on, little frilly skirt, little jumper, hair in bunches. Years before, I'd done Lock Up Your Daughters. And I had sung on tape for another film, When Does a Ravishing Begin?, The Gentle Art of Seduction, and several other pop naughty songs. So I walk out and he said, "Your name?" I said, "It's Sally Smith, Mr. Coward." "Lovely. What are you going to sing?" So I said, "I'm going to sing Over the Rainbow." "Very nice." "Lovely, lovely, stop." I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Nothing. I saw you on tape, my dear, and I would like you to sing When Does the Ravishing Begin?" And I looked at myself and I went, like this. Yes, 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 yes. Come along, come along. finished, and I said, I haven't got any music. He said, well, neither have I. I said, you know it? He said, well, So I went, okay. When does the lavishing begin? Anyway, did the song, and he went, lovely, lovely. What about the gentle art of seduction? This is really silly. So I did the gentle art of seduction, the crafty art of seduction. I perceive Adam's Eve, what leaves she should leave, and still make the most of all her charms. Lovely, lovely, what else do you know? I said, I don't know, what do you want? Anyway, I did another 4 songs. Dressed like a 12-year-old, sitting there with all his menials around him. And he said, absolutely lovely. Goodbye, thank you. Gone. Had a long journey home because I had to go from there to Godalming, where I was born. I got home and my mother said, can you phone Mrs. Foster? She's got a message. And I thought, oh, I said, that's a ridiculous audition. I said, I don't know what's the matter with him, silly old sod. But I loved him, I hastened to phone Mrs. Foster. She said, Sally? I said, yes, Mrs. Foster. She said, Noel Coward has just been on the phone. And I said, oh, well, you do surprise me. I said, because I don't know why he was asking me to do all these naughty numbers. And she said, this is what he said. About Sally Smith. Wonderful, wonderful audition. Quite wrong for the show. Which I thought was absolutely wonderful. It was quite true. What was I doing there? And did you know he'd only asked me because he'd seen me singing these 2 naughty songs in a black leotard and tights.
Speaking of dressing like a 12-year-old girl, weren't you also asked to audition for Annie at one point? They wanted you to be Annie.
No. They couldn't find anyone for Annie. My agent phoned them and said, well, there's only one person that can do it, and that's Sally Smith. And I went, I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. No. Because I was 25, 26, 27. And that's going too far. I've already played a 14-year-old in an Italian movie. That one.
Yes.
I was 14 in that. And I said, no, that's going too far. So that's what happened there.
Would have got around the child labour laws, though, I suppose.
It would.
It could have worked you
It
hard.
would, yes.
Anyone got any questions or want to ask about the film?
Sally, you've worked with so many wonderful people, and it's hard to have a favourite, but do you have somebody that sticks in your mind? Is somebody you, if you had your time over again, they would be your key person to work with?
Les Dawson.
Oh, really?
Oh, we haven't even mentioned Les
loved
Dawson.
him.
So what did you do with Les Dawson?
Pantomime.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I loved him. We stayed up until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He drank bottles of whiskey, the silly old sod. But, oh, he was just wonderful. I loved him. I mean, yes, there are others, and they were wonderful too, but he sticks out because he was so giving. I mean, do all of you know him?
Absolutely.
And you've seen him doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, those two together doing that, oh, it used to make me laugh. And he was just, how do you define someone that is so warm and squidgy? I used to go, oh!
And you must really get to know somebody doing a panto season, because that runs and runs and runs.
Oh yes, he's a bastard. I sang, all the girls are on the stage with me, and I'm singing, baubles, bangles, bright shiny beads, ding-a-ding-a. On comes Les, with the eyes that pop out like that. Because all the girls go, and I'm thinking, something's going on. And I turned around and there's Les. Well, I thought, what do I do? I'm going to go, and I had to go, right, shine. Anyway, I got to the end of the number without laughing. He also, same show, came on, he played Widow Tranky. He comes on stage with this over his shoulders. And I go, oh, Widow Tranky. And I thought, what is he doing? And he says, Cinders, take it off. And I went, and he'd got great big slabs in it. I couldn't even get it off stage. Oh, he was funny. But he was so lovely. Oh, squidgy. And he was married to the sweetest lady. Unfortunately, she died. But he found love with another gorgeous lady.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So you did quite a lot of pantos over
Yes.
the years. You mentioned the Humpty Dumpty one, which was for TV. But just general panto seasons.
I did 27 pantomimes, I think.
Wow.
With most of the best comedians ever. Don't ask me names because I'm dreadful. Fran, you'll bear me out. And John. I am dreadful with names, but wonderful. Harry Seacombe. We had Svetlana Beryosova, a wonderful Russian ballet dancer. Harry Seacombe went up to her. Only Harry could do it. And he went, hello, Miss Sweaty all over. She went, and walked off. Harry went, I think there's something wrong there. Oh, love him. Love him. Wonderful people. Anybody else?
I think you should share your Greta Garbo story.
Oh, go on. Is that repeatable in public?
Yes. Was I unrepeatable then? Because I'm ever so naughty. Right. I was in New York doing Royal the Grease-Spent Smell of the Crowd, Anthony Newley, Leslie Bricusse, and so many wonderful people. Cyril Richards, who was part of the Co-optimists, if anyone's old enough to remember them, he went over to America after leaving the Co-optimists, who were very, very famous. And he made a wonderful life for himself there. He did films with Ginger Rogers and all that lot. And, I mean, he was just a wonderful man. We were talking one day, and he said something about people in business. Oh, pardon me. And I said, my favourite lady. He said, who? I said, oh, Greta Garbo. I said, she's so butch. Because it was that voice, you know, that wonderful voice though. Sally! Yes? What do you want? Come here. Trotted past this great lump of chiffon. Went, hey, what was it you said about Greta Garbo? Oh, she's so butch. Thank you, darling. It was so lovely, I can't tell you. Anyone else?
Sally, was Nicky Henson on the bike at the end?
That was Nicky Henson.
Was it? Yeah,
Yes!
I thought it was really interesting the way that the film both looked back to sort of Will Hay and that kind of caper. It was tremendous fun, and yet also was clearly giving an opportunity to a bunch of new, including Ron Barker, of course, but other actors who would become real mainstays in British comedy.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting for that reason. It's a really fascinating film for that reason, I think.
I absolutely agree. It was a lovely, lovely film to do too. It was lovely. They were all just squidgy.
You've got Kenneth Cope in there as well, who obviously went on to do Randall and Hopkirk.
Oh, that was hilarious, that Randall and Hopkirk.
And lots of people just in one scene and they're gone, but they're all. It was, like you said, it was the people of the day, plus people who we've forgotten. I mean, Cardew Robinson by 1964 was already out of fashion.
I know, isn't it awful? Who was the big bloke? Actually, I can't remember his name. He was very. But the one. Yes. God, I remember him. Jeepers creepers. I must be the oldest here, isn't it awful?
Any other questions? Yes, at the back.
Hello.
Yeah, are you still acting now?
No, I gave it up 25 years ago. Bored.
Oh,
Done that, been there. Been it since I was 5. Yeah, give me a
what
break.
are you doing now then, if I'm allowed to follow up?
Life of leisure. No, I live in Hastings. I've got 2 dogs. I've got a lot of friends, as you can see. You know, and they've all, and I bless you all for coming, all my mates who I've met in the park, and Jules and my Hayes and my John, all the way from London. It took him 5 hours, poor bugger. And I'll tell you what it was. I was doing Phantom of the Opera, and we had some little dancers in it. And I mean, they were the luckiest kids in the world because they came straight from college into a huge show. Huge. You don't, or didn't get better than that. I think I'd been there for 2 weeks and I heard, I'm so bored. I'm half bored. And I thought, you're getting £300 a week. I mean, that's an awful lot of money, and that was a long time, over 20 years ago. Straight from college, and you're working in the West End? What? And I thought, that's it. I don't want to stand on a stage again. So, I didn't.
Didn't you also do an episode of The Bill around that time?
Oh yes, I did all of
And
them.
The Bill was
I did one called, John Ireland did a series. Well, I can't remember what it's called. It's age, isn't it? Now you were going to ask me this.
I was just going to ask, what is, with all those outdoor scenes in the film, were they just sort of shot in the studio?
No.
lot?
No, they were all outside. Didn't you see me looking at James
Well,
looks
'cause
just like
it's
this?
very bright.
No.
So
It was the
was
sun
actually,
was out too.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
they were,
No,
you
no,
actually
we had
these-
lovely weather for those. Lovely weather, but no, that was all.
It must have taken a long time to choreograph all of that. All of those.
Well, when the cows were
cows.
there. Yes. Took a long time to clear up. Hello, Jules.
What was your favourite West End show that you did?
I think it was a review I did at the Mayfair Theatre. Now that was Ronnie Cass and Peter Myers. Now they wrote things like Summer Holiday, if anybody remembers that, with all the lovely people in that. I'd never done review, and it's one of the most difficult things to do as well, because they can throw something at you in the evening and say, well, that's going in tonight. And you're doing bits and pieces which are completely disjointed. And it was so fabulous, because you had to get this going all the time. And God, there used to be some funny mistakes. And in that show, the most difficult part of my time in theatre was this. Peter wrote, all that awfulness was going on in Ireland, and you know Danny Boy, Danny Boy, he wrote a number for me, which was about Ireland. Now I can't remember all of it, but if you can imagine me, or anyone for that matter, just anyone, sitting on a stage in a little light, singing, "Oh Danny Boy, there's such a lot of brawling, the greatest since the days of the Sinn Féin, with Catholics and Protestants still falling, and special police to pick them up again." And I thought, I'm going to get killed again. I truly, I've gone funny now, I've gone all goosey bumpy. I was so terrified when I'd finished it, and there was deathly silence. And suddenly somebody went like that, and then somebody else, and then the whole bloody place stood up. And I went, oh, I'm not going to get killed after all. But that was the most scary thing I've ever done, but yet still the most marvellous. And review is fabulous, and it's all gone. That was the week that was review. Yeah. All those wonderful people in it, David Frost and everybody. Right.
We've got time for one more question, if anybody...
You should share the story about Stanley Kubrick. That was the
Stanley Kubrick?
Stanley Kubrick.
I don't know the story about Stanley Kubrick. Which one? Actually,
It's not about Lolita, is it?
Yes, might be.
Oh, you tell me the story.
Oh my God, yes. Right. So, I was asked to go and audition for Lolita. Yeah? And I thought, oh my God, I don't want to. It's not me, and I'm too old again.
Were you familiar with the novel, or you knew what it was about?
Familiar, and I mean very familiar, because I'm dreadful reading. It would take me 5 years to read it. So I went along, and I did the voice, you know, how you do when you're trying to be young. And went through it. And this guy said to me, I'm sure I know you. No, you don't. I've never met you before. Anyway, he said, you look so like Sally Smith. Really? No, my name's Sandra. Didn't get the part. I was quite wrong for it anyway.
Well, it's probably fabulous. Well, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
doing this evening. Thank you to everybody for coming. I think we should end with a round of
I
applause.
think and thank you all from the heart of my bottom for coming.